Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tilted Lawyer podcast. We just had flashbacks to last Friday morning. But look, we got a lot to get to. It's Melissa's last day. After 5 years as my assistant, she is moving on to greener pastures. And so she also has promised not to scream at everybody today. She's read all of your comments.
Yes, I did.
And she's also promised not to use the F word so much.
Yes, I also read that.
But we have a lot to get to. P. Diddy, the diddler. The guy has been brought up on federal charges. And what's more, he's not getting out anytime soon. We don't really know the breadth of the criminal allegations. Know that they are going to increase exponentially as we move forward. There's a number of civil lawsuits that are pending against him. And those are probably going to be put on hold while these criminal proceedings proceed. So you're going to want to stick around. I have a lot to get to. It's going to be a hell of a show. So grab a drink and let's get started. Whatever you might be going through and wherever you might be, this is Omar Serrato with the Tilted Lawyer podcast. I'm here to take your mind off of things. Yes, I'm an attorney. No, I'm not giving you legal advice. We're going to sit and talk like people, as these are the candid thoughts of one practicing attorney, and it's after hours. So have a seat. Feel free to have a drink and join me. Let's get started. So 47 shocking allegations, from sex trafficking to racketeering, allegations of physical and emotional abuse, forced labor, obstruction of justice, flat out sexual assault, false imprisonment. There's all kinds of stuff going on. There are alleged crimes that he forced young ladies into prostitution, forced people to perform sex acts, men and women, forcibly drugged individuals. Never mind the gallons and gallons of baby oil that was uncovered in the federal raid. He had the now infamous freak-offs. There are multiple women that have, and that's nothing new, but there's multiple women that are accusing him of assault, other illegal behavior, such as probably the coercive drug allegations. He's allegedly two women, Liza Gardner and Joy Dickerson Neal. That goes all the way back. That was a New York case all the way back to 1990, before Diddy was even a thing. Back then, he was just a little peon trying to get a record deal. He was cleaning toilets of record execs, trying to make his way into the industry. The other one took place around the same time in 1991. Statute of limitations be damned. They got those lawsuits, and when they lifted temporarily the statute of limitations, there's a lot of reasons why people think that happened, but because it happened, he's facing those allegations. Very famously, his ex-girlfriend, Cassie, also filed a civil suit. I have in my hands the actual complaint that she filed. I don't know if I'm going to have time to read it all along with the federal indictments, the criminal charges, but she alleged that he had physically and sexually her, had demanded her to hold his gun, forced her to have sex with prostitutes, became violent and jealous when she would, in his eyes, flirt with other men. And the guy was a monster for a long time. He made like this really wish-washy apology video. Did you see that, Melissa? What do you think about his apology?
My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now.
It's crap.
Like somebody puts a gun to your head, forces you to have sex with prostitutes, and, treats you all this way. Domestic violence, of course, I'm sure. Physical, verbal abuse, all of those things. And at the end says, I'm really, really sorry for my actions. The stuff that they found on the video. What did he expect her to say to that? Drop the lawsuit? Of course not.
You're just sorry you got caught. That's a whole different
story. He's real sorry now. I don't know if this guy's ever getting out of jail. I'll tell you what. I mean, they say he's facing 10 years. It's going to be a lot more than that.
I actually spoke to one of my friends last week. he was listening to, the charges just as he was on the radio. Diddy offered to sell one of his houses, I think one of his jets, and another one of his vehicles.
I'm going to talk about that.
Something
Yeah,
about that to pay.
$50 million to pay for the bond. Just like
He was like,
the bond.
no,
You're a
sorry.
flight risk. You're not getting out. Sorry.
Exactly.
And then we're going to talk about why that was. The DA actually wrote a letter to the judge. I'm going to read that a little bit later on. Multiple allegations, multiple civil suits, allegations from not just the two we talked about, multiple women talking about sexual assault, drugging. Former artists are now speaking out against Diddy and his actions. Everybody's coming out of the woodwork. He's the subject of many comedians' comedic routines involving baby oil. Who's the guy with the long hair? Cat Williams. He came out a few months ago and kind of shed some light on some of the more salacious things that were going on. Sexual acts with other male celebrities, the Wayans brothers. I remember when we covered this a few months ago, there was a clip of Diddy sitting next to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, 80s Mike Tyson, that effing guy, where he was like trying to touch his leg, and Mike Tyson's like, "You will not." And then he turns around and looks at him like this, and it was I don't know.
I was embarrassed for like weeks.
It truly is about the Benjamin, as we see.
Oh yes, he's glittering.
It truly is about the Benjamin.
Well, now when we come back, we're gonna talk more.
It was
He was friends with Epstein too, if I'm not wrong.
oh, he was friends with. Hey, it's not just these people in the music industry. I mean, J-Lo, if you consider her part of the music industry, she sort of was back in the early 2000s, 90s. I didn't see the stuff about Kobe. What happened with Kobe?
I did.
What
Kobe
happened?
was in many of his parties.
Doing what, though? Like shooting hoops? Because that guy never partied at all. He was
Well-
always practicing.
No, Kobe was many of his parties. Many Colombian artists were also with him in his private. I think he has a private penthouse in New York, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
Now abandoned now, if I'm not
Of
mistaken.
course.
Right? The public opinion has started this shift against Diddy the same way that it happened with R. Kelly. Remember when all of the allegations came out with him, and there was all these skits on the Chappelle show about, kind of poking fun at all of it. And then that documentary comes out. He gives this interview to, I forget who it was, but he gave this television interview where he's crying. It's like, it's not fair. Everybody's ganging up on me. And nobody understands what I'm going through. I'm not guilty. I'm innocent. Found him guilty. He's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. And after that, all of the streaming sales, all of the music sales, everybody just kind of, he was canceled. He was canceled like mid-teens, 2000s style canceled. Like, we're not listening to him anymore. And to this day, his music used to be so ubiquitous at weddings, parties. You can't have a dance party without dropping an R. Kelly song. Well, you can't now because he's been canceled. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. He wasn't even before your time. Don't tell me you don't know about R. Kelly's music.
No, I know. Of course I do. It's just you said a party. So my face was like, what kind of parties were that? And then I remember you're American. So I'm like, oh, yes.
I didn't have his music at my wedding. Any of them.
I didn't mention wedding. You did.
I'm not saying I would play R. Kelly music, but whenever you hire
He
a
was
DJ,
really popular.
because he had like that little line dancing song, "Step in the Name of Love" or whatever. Diddy's music, he is not the musician that R. Kelly was. He was very notoriously known for being famous, for being around other people
that were famous. Exactly.
Artists. Somehow he became a mogul, a producer. He played the business side of it, and that's how he got famous. He's got that stupid little Gumby dance that he does.
So remember, Diddy was in an episode of My Super Sweet 16. Somebody brought him to her party. That's how I actually knew who he was.
Do you remember the MTV show where it was like American Idol, but you had to impress Diddy, like Diddy was the judge?
Yes.
And he was like, you know what you're going to do? I want you to go down the street. You're going to bring me back a sugar cookie. I want you to wash my car with a Q-tip. It's all about how much you want it. It's all about how much you're willing to put yourself out there to get to be able to succeed. And people were talking about him being weird then. I mean, not criminally weird, but you know, it's been well known for like the last 25, 30 years that Diddy was kind of off whenever he would give like public appearances, like on the, I don't know, Arsenio Hall show, late night TV shows. He would go on European television, give interviews with them. He would just come off as a little odd, you know, not really engaging. He always had this Diddy persona. And you couldn't really tell him anything. Guy did well in business. If he wasn't a talented musician, which he was not, he was a talented businessman and he made himself a billionaire. However, you know, he got a little deep with all the stuff that he has gotten involved with. Never mind the civil suits. He's facing these criminal charges. By the way, I expect that these civil cases, where you're going to hear a lot more of these salacious details come out, they're not going to be heard until after the criminal proceedings are done. Because he has a right to remain silent and not incriminate himself. You don't have the same right in civil court. And so they're not going to compel him with the civil cases to give testimony directly related because it's going to violate his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. And so therefore, they're just going to stay those proceedings until the conclusion of these criminal proceedings. So let's get into the criminal indictment. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I remember how to do this. Present, share. By the way, I know you guys are leaving a lot of comments. I'm really bad at getting to all of them. The best way to get me to read your comment on air is to leave me a super chat, because I will read it, because I get a ping in my ear. And then I will see, it's like, oh, well, thank you. And then I'll get to, so if you really want to participate in the show, that would be the best way to do it. I may or may not get to all of these comments while I'm, you know, busy doing the show, but just so you know, you get my attention on all fronts when you leave super chats. And by the way, congratulations to Winks, who is a new member. She's not a new member. She was gifted a membership, I think, way back when. And her membership didn't automatically renew. So she is now re-upped. She's now an official member of the Tilted Lawyer podcast. Where did her... I can't get off of this screen. There it is. There's Winks. What's up, Brooks? Thank you so much for the two. She says, I like when Melissa uses the F word. Get her live. Or let her live. Let her...
She said it, not me.
I don't have any problems with you using the F word, but you can't, like, screech it in my ear, man. It's like, Jesus Christ. You sound like a pterodactyl. You know what's funny, man? It's like, I told my wife the other day, because she was talking about, I don't know, something about dinner, and she was like getting excitable. And it's like, could you stop squawking at me? I've been getting squawked at all day long because of you. I told her this. I'm just saying, I've been getting squawked at all day. You were on one last week. On last Friday's show, you were on one. You were yelling at me.
About a 13-year-old and a mother.
Oh, I get the outrage.
Yes.
I get the outrage. I
promised I was
just got yourself a little excitable.
Get back there again, because I was going to get mad again.
I don't want to take you back there. Let's stay focused on this. Let me share with you the criminal indictment that I'm going to read. If I go to window, here it is. Share. Is that big enough on screen? Should be now. All right. So this has him on 3 counts: racketeering, conspiracy, count 1. The grand jury charges. So for decades, Sean Combs, a.k.a. Puff Daddy, a.k.a. P. Diddy, a.k.a. Diddy. By the way, you don't need all these names, man. Stick with one. Pick one and stick with it. I don't see the need for whatever. Oh, a.k.a. P.D., a.k.a. Love. Get out of here, man. Who calls P. Diddy Love? Was that ever a thing?
Not that I knew Puff Daddy and P. Diddy, and that's it.
The allegation is that the defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. You want to know the best way to get people to fall in line with your business deals? Get them on audio tape during a freak-off getting a blowjob from a midget, and have it recorded on all of these surveillance cameras and say, hey, I think...
Do not take that business advice, please.
Diddy did.
I know.
He's a billionaire. You don't think that doesn't go on in other in other channels of life other than the entertainment industry, man, that's like look, you cannot go to a business party and let yourself get inebriated to the point where you're having sex with midgets in a gallons of baby
I
oil.
think Jordan Belfort
What happened to Jordan Belfort?
But
he went to jail.
Yes,
along with all of his associates.
Yes.
What happened to Diddy? He went to jail. What happened to Epstein? He was murdered in jail. Right? So a lot of the way that he would get dirt on all of these people.
What's funny is Epstein's dead, but he went to jail. Leslie Wexner and then the other guy, the one that was photographer, they're still out there.
Well, that is another story for another day. All I know is that guy had dirt on everybody, all of the celebs, and they could not risk his testimony making its way into the public stratosphere. And so they discarded him. That's all. That's what happened. It's really not that complicated. It's pretty much as simple as that. Now, Diddy, he was super weird and he did all these things, but he got people to keep his secrets through coercion. Hey, just so you know, if you didn't see, there's a camera right there. There's a camera right there. There's cameras in the bathroom. There's cameras in the bedroom. There's cameras in the living room. So all of that stuff, all that nasty stuff you were doing with the Wayans brothers or whoever it was, with Will Smith, with the guy from Love and Basketball, Dwayne Johnson, with not The Rock.
That's Dwayne Johnson.
The guy that was on all the basketball movies, man. Oh, what am I thinking? No, Above the Rim. Remember the guy from Above the Rim? That's before your time. That's like 94, 95 with Tupac. How do you not know Above the Rim? How are you going to claim to be a sports fan and not know the movie Above the Rim? You see, we're thinking about doing like
Dominic,
this sports
if they
podcast.
tell you the basketball movies, what's the first movie that pops into your head? Let's
Space Jam.
Exactly. Space Jam. It's exactly the same as me.
It couldn't be like Hoop Dreams. It couldn't be like Hoosiers. It couldn't be like
Many Champions as well. But Space Jam.
For Love of the Game or Love and Basketball. What about the one with Denzel? The one with Denzel?
What's the name?
It had Ray Allen in it. Spike Lee movie. Was it called For Love of the Game? What was that movie called? Do you even know what I'm talking about, Dominic? You're making me nervous, man. He wants to do these sports podcasts, but he doesn't know these very famous movies. It's making me nervous. All right. Conceal his conduct. He gets the dirt on everybody. To do so, Combs relied on his employees' resources and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice. If you're ever reading in a criminal complaint against you the words sex trafficking, you're not going to get out of prison anytime soon. And they don't bring those charges lightly. That literally means he is forcing young girls out of a place to go be sex slaves for him at another place, is what it means. And it coincides with the forced labor aspect of it, the kidnapping aspect of it, the arson. I don't know where the arson comes from. What was that about? Bribery? I get. Obstruction of justice? I get. The arson? What's the arson story? I'm going to take that as to mean that you don't know what the arson story is.
Fire?
Yes, that's what it means. You're
starting
fires, but I don't know what he would have committed arson on. So, number 2, Sean Combs, the defendant, operated his business headquartered at various times in Manhattan, in Los Angeles, under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, Combs Global, corporate entities in the Combs business included, among other things, record labels, recording studio, an apparel line, alcoholic spirits business, marketing agency, television network, and media company. At all times relevant to this indictment, Sean Combs, the reason why they're doing it like this is because they have to prove the elements of the crimes. Excuse me. what they're doing is they're setting up the foundation for how they're going to prove that he had this business empire that was engaged in committing all of these crimes over a sustained period of time. These are RICO charges, basically. If all these get proved, these are going to be RICO charges. This abuse was at times verbal. The defendant engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse toward women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, sexual. As part of his pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. At times, Combs and others acting at his discretion made arrangements for women and commercial sex workers to fly to Combs' location. Combs ensured participation from the women by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and threatening to cut off the same, and using intimidation and violence. It's starting to sound a little bit like, who was that guy, man? The director, the really creepy guy, had the casting couch, movie mogul. What was his name?
Kevin Spacey?
No. Not Kevin Spacey. He was the guy, the MGM guy. He produced all these movies, Good Will Hunting, Harvey Weinstein. Well, Combs did that too.
Georgina Chapman.
He just did it a little bit differently.
Husband of Georgina Chapman.
So the physical abuse they are alleging, the defendant was recurrent and widely known on numerous occasions from at least in or about 2009 and continuing for years. Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, kicking them. These assaults were at times witnessed by others and included one instance at a Los Angeles hotel in or about March 2016, which was captured on video and later publicly reported. They're talking about Cassie, where Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave, his girlfriend. When a member of the hotel security staff intervened, Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. I wasn't really involved to that level in those kinds of parties, but I remember those parties back in 99, 2000. Back then, and maybe still a little bit back in 2009, social media was at its infancy. If you wanted to get famous, if you wanted to get your voice out there, what, you're going to put out a MySpace video and expect anything to happen? No, we were still in the world of CDs.
You just repeated something that Beyonce said exactly, almost like that in 2010.
Really?
Yeah, they interviewed her and they asked her, Beyonce has always been huge. Mm-hmm. They asked her what...
Thank you for the reminder. Go continue.
Okay, I'm going to ignore that.
Tell me all about Beyonce.
Okay. They asked her what she thought was the difference between the upcoming artist. That documentary, I think, is from 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And when she started. And she said, it was way harder to become an artist in my days. Yeah. Today, 2010, like I said, you just post a picture online and boom, that's it. Back then, you had to like chase producers and chase talent managers and chase all of those people right around everywhere and had them to listen to your things and like put them in a CD or a floppy disk and then like chase people to strong lines. Exactly, do long lines for hours just to get somebody to pay attention to you. And you had to be
2 minutes of their time.
And you had to be the best of the best of the best because they get candidates like you every single day.
You don't. I saw so many talented people that were way better than the bullshit that was being put out back in those days.
Do not insult Beyonce.
Did I say anything about Beyonce?
No, I'm just saying.
She's a mid-level singer. Mid. She is super mid.
Lávate la boca.
She has good dance routines. She's an attractive lady. But her vocals were mid. Especially back then. You have no idea how many talented people out there that were way better than the artists that they were putting out there. The reason, it wasn't about the talent. It might have been about the talent in the 50s and 60s, 70s maybe even in the 80s. But something in the 90s and 2000s, you leveraged that. You leveraged your position as a record producer, and with the understanding that you had the ability to take somebody off the street and change their entire life for a 2-minute blowjob. You don't want to? All right. Well, lots of luck to you.
For a 2-minute, okay. I'm
Or
not
whatever
allowed to
they're
say bad words, so I
they're
can't say it.
whatever they're asking for. But you get what I'm saying. Play tennis with a midget. I keep on saying midget. I don't know why. Dress up like a clown. Dance like a chicken, like that movie, that show, The Gentleman. People were desperate, and they didn't have this ready-made audience on YouTube or social media or Instagram or TikTok.
It didn't exist
in the 90s. You know what they had? They had AOL. They had dial-up internet.
Yahoo at the very like top.
If you were getting 20 megabits per second, that was like super fast internet. If you could see like video on the internet, it was like grainy, like 44p or whatever.
And I think you couldn't upload videos longer than a minute, something like that.
And it would take hours to download. And so it just wasn't ready. I mean, back then the big talk was about, we could download all of these MP3s on these illicit websites. But that was for people that had already made it. There was not a mechanism for unknown talent to put themselves out there. Nowadays, it's just way different, way easier to be seen and noticed.
There's a lot of kids that are millionaires because they play stupid, silly dancing videos on TikTok.
There's kids that are millionaires because they're really good at Fortnite.
It's another one. There's kids that are millionaires because they do slime on camera.
Yeah. There's this kid that my daughter watches.
Why does everything start that way?
He plays with toys.
My aunt said the same thing. There's this girl that my daughter watches. She makes bows. I'm like, oh my God.
They buy toys and they play with them and make reviews. Kids of millionaires. College is paid for.
Why was I in school? I should have been doing videos back then.
Oh, it's a good thing that you were not. What kind of videos would you have done?
I don't know.
All right.
But there's a kid playing with toys. There's a kid testing toys, doing a toy haul. How old is he? 5?
This kid looks probably like 5 or 6.
A 6-year-old doing a toy haul.
But his parents are all in the videos.
Of course they are. He's a minor.
Yeah. I wonder.
It's the same when Kylie started her social media content.
If he's getting
able
to
13.
Keep all of his money is all. Anyway, so the Combs Enterprise. Here's the RICO charges. From at least in or about 2008 through on or about the date of the filing of this indictment, Combs, the defendant, and others known and unknown were members and associates of a criminal organization, the Combs Enterprise, or the Enterprise. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution. That's why this is a federal case. Coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics, offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. You know, it's really difficult to prosecute any singular instance of those crimes. The way you really get your hooks into somebody is by proving an ongoing criminal enterprise. RICO, if they can prove that starting over a period of time that you were committing all of these crimes and it was this organization, a criminal enterprise, you were federally fucked. I just used the F word. Effed. I'm sorry, Pam. I know Pam is probably waving her finger at me like that. The Combs Enterprise, including its leadership, its members, and its associates, constituted an enterprise as defined by Title 18, United States Code, Section 1961-4. That is a group of individuals associated, in fact, not a legal entity. The Combs Enterprise consisted of Combs, the defendant, entities within the Combs business, including but not limited to Bad Boy Entertainment. Ooh. Oh.
Bad Boy Entertainment.
This trial, if this goes to trial, this is going to be wild. It is going to be wild. Just by naming Bad Boy Entertainment, you realize what that means? Anybody that was ever an employee, ever, well, Diddy was over there, which is pretty much from the beginning. is going to be subject to indictment themselves.
That's why they said that Jay-Z was going to get involved, both Jay-Z and Beyonce. I think he had a share.
Jay-Z is in a lot of trouble, man. Jennifer Lopez is in a lot of trouble. Whoever was associated, whoever was friends with, whoever received a penny from Bad Boy Entertainment is in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Potentially.
So basically the entire Hollywood.
No. Specifically Bad Boy Entertainment. Not all of Hollywood.
Entire Hollywood.
Combs Enterprises, Combs Global, individuals employed by and associated with the Combs business, and others known and unknown.
Entire
The
Hollywood.
My God.
There it is. There it is.
I don't think Brad Pitt was associated with
Neo, Usher, Justin Bieber. I can keep them.
You want to get Marilyn Streep in there? Do you even know who that is?
Meryl Streep?
Marilyn.
You said Marilyn.
I did say Marilyn. I meant You know what I meant.
Of course I know who she is. Who doesn't?
You know who might have been associated? I think that didn't she Martha Stewart do a video with
I knew you were going to mention her.
Why did you know that?
Martha Stewart is from your generation.
Why is she from my generation?
Wasn't her peak like in the 80s and 90s?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But she's more famous for getting put away for insider trading. You don't really think of her the same way you do, say, Julia Child. At least I don't anyway. Anyway, so the Combs Enterprise consisted of an ongoing organization whose members functioned as a continuing unit for a common purpose of achieving the objectives of the Combs Enterprise. The Combs Enterprise was engaged in and its activities affected interstate and foreign commerce. The Combs Enterprise operated in Southern District of New York and elsewhere. At all times relevant to this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, was the leader of the enterprise. Sean Combs, the defendant, and others known and unknown participated in unlawful and other activities related to the conduct of the Combs Enterprise affairs. These individuals included certain Combs business employees, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the purpose of the enterprise was operating a global business in the media, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, including, among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, alcoholic spirits businesses. They're going to list all of the things that they were doing. I think that most people are familiar with Bad Boy Entertainment. I'm more interested in the means and methods of the enterprise. So among the means and methods by which Combs, the defendant, and other members and associates of the Combs Enterprise conducted and participated in the conduct of the affairs in the Combs Enterprise include the following. Combs and other members and associates of the Combs Enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs' role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship. Combs would then use force, threats of force, coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers. What does that mean? Commercial sex workers. That was a question.
Prostitutes?
I don't think that, would you label prostitutes commercial?
I could label them as entrepreneurs, but I mean.
But that wouldn't be commercial. Well, it doesn't matter. Porn stars, maybe. Freak-offs. So freak-offs were elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of members and associates of the Combs Enterprise, transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally. They're definitely talking about prostitutes. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial sex workers. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substance to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant, sometimes unbeknownst to the victims. Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers. After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. That is crazy. That is crazy. Have you ever gone to a party and partied so hard that you needed an IV?
I didn't. My husband.
What?
After a wedding.
You did?
After a wedding. No, he did. You asked. I answered.
You got to tell me this story. I've never heard this story.
He got so effed up that he needed liquid IVs after.
Really?
So bad.
At your wedding?
Yes.
Were you mad at him?
No.
Oh, what a sweet lady.
It was like 3 a.m., Omar. Why the hell would I be mad?
Because he should have known his limits.
Omar, it was 3 a.m. Photographers were gone. All of the protocol has already been done. What the F was I going to be mad for? For him not enjoying our own wedding? That's stupid.
I guess. Whatever.
I would be mad if he would have got that way at
But
9 p.m.
You definitely got to make fun of him a little bit.
That's ridiculous. Of course I do. I have videos of everything. Of course I do.
So you could hold your liquor, huh?
I have videos of everything. My best friend was there, which was the maid of honor. Her husband was there. His best man and one of his groomsmen had to like help him get him upstairs to the room because he was so effed up that he couldn't even walk.
I just want to highlight this paragraph of this indictment. So, members and associates of the Combs Enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking hotel rooms for the freak-off, stocking the hotel rooms in advance with the required freak-off supplies,
Freak-off supplies.
Controlled substances, baby oil, lubricants, extra linens.
Now, every time I'm going to do a party, I'm going to say, I'm going to stuff my house up with freak-off supplies. Very nice.
Why don't you just have, like, upon entrance, a complimentary bottle of baby oil?
Freak-off supply.
You're either going to use it or you're going to get the F out. How about that?
Baby oil.
That's basically what a freak-off is.
Baby oil.
Yeah. Extra linens. I don't know, personally, if you're going to use that much oil, what's the purpose of the linens, man? You might as well just get on those, like, rubber mattresses. You know? I mean, isn't that more efficient? Like, what? I mean, you slip and slide, I guess. What's with the linens? That's just making a mess.
You could use a towel, too.
Oh, what's a towel going to do? That's just going to make it worse. Extra linens and lighting. Cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-offs to try to mitigate room damage. Arranging for travel for victims.
Damage.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I could imagine what the bills were. Commercial sex workers and Combs.
The memes that are going to come out of this are going to be insane.
Oh, it's already started. We got a good year or two of material. Resupplying Combs with requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay the commercial sex workers, scheduling the delivery of IV fluids in or about March 24. During searches of Combs' residences in Miami, Florida, Los Angeles, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricants. I gotta say, man, I feel like baby oil as a lubricant
That's what I was going to say, but you said it, so
is amateurish.
I don't know about that.
That's like a 12-year-old's idea of, I don't know, because they watch the music, I guess because they watch the music videos, but it's not a very good lubricant. But I don't know. 1,000 bottles, I feel like you don't need.
Omar, we don't know this weird and disgusting people's sexual desires and arousals. So.
Yeah, you do. You've seen the videos. They dump that shit over the ladies.
No, you know what?
Like it's ketchup.
No, I haven't seen the videos, but thank you for illustrating me.
Tell me that you haven't seen a rap video within the last 25 years.
Oh, no. Wait, you're actually absolutely right. Actually, yeah. You're right.
I'm assuming
You're right.
that's what they were doing with the bottles of...
Exactly. That's what we're assuming.
Let's just say they weren't using it to moisturize. They were using it to take a bath.
No, Maddie.
To douse them.
To moisturize.
I don't think they were using it as a lubricant. They were, I mean, for the glisten, I guess, for the shine. Well, whatever. So Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in freak-offs. Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promises of career opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including trafficking their whereabouts or tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's appearance, monitoring their medical records. That's interesting. Controlling their housing and supplying them with controlled substances.
He was tampering with their
During
medical records?
and separate from freak-offs, combs among, I guess, to gauge their STDs, safety for the patrons. I'm assuming that's what it would be for. During and separate from freak-offs, combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, dragged victims, at times by their hair.
That's what I was going to say. I think his wife mentioned something like that.
These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. Combs also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods, including if they resisted participating in freak-offs. Victims believed they could not refuse Combs' demands without risking their financial or job security without repercussions in the form of physical or emotional abuse. Combs also used the sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating recordings that he made during freak-offs as collateral to ensure the continued obedience and silence of the victims. Knowing all of that, and you wouldn't have any way to have known about that if you were like a rookie in the industry. Imagine being invited to a Combs party like that. And let's just say it was back in like 2003. Let's just say. And you believed in your heart of hearts that you had this special gift because he sung in the church choir and everybody has remarked on your beautiful voice. You're the most beautiful tenor that we've ever heard. You're going places. Your voice should be on display for all of the world to see. And you're over there singing Amazing Grace and all of these church hymns and His Eye is on the Sparrow and all of these songs and all of this loving attention being heaped upon you. And then you find yourself at the entrance of a Combs freak-off. And then it's like, here's a couple babies of baby oil. You're going to disrobe.
You're going to this.
You're going to eat this mushroom. You're going to snort this line. And you're going to get your ass in the tub or get the F out. And you were lured there because he thought you were going to get 30 seconds with Combs.
This
and
just
maybe
reminded me of Holly's and Bridget's podcast.
Who's that?
The girls next door. The ones who used to date Hef. Playboy Mansion.
Not a podcast I would voluntarily listen to. Nothing against them. I'm sure they got more followers than us. I'm just saying I would not have a reason to listen to that podcast. So enlighten me. What did they say?
They were the original girls next door. Like when the show started.
Okay.
In the 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah, Holly, Bridget, and Kendra. Kendra did not participate. She just stood out. But they talked about it and they said that for you to be one of Hef's official girlfriends, you had to like get in a tub with him. Something like that. Something like you just said.
You know, that might have been cool like when he was like in his 40s or 50s. But when he gets like
80.
I was going to say like once he like starts pushing 80, 90, like how gross
I still
would that
remember,
have been?
up to this day, I think it was because my mom did not know English and that's why she allowed me to watch that. But I was 14 watching and TV.
Well, you're in high school.
25-year-old girls with an 80-year-old grandpa.
Yeah, I'm not
going
impressed.
to Vegas and doing all this crap.
I've watched Euphoria. I know what high school is like nowadays.
Stop it with the Euphoria, please.
That show is ridiculous. Jesus Christ. Was high school a different place when I went there back in 1998?
It comes from the perspective of an opioid addict, which is actually...
From the perspective of what?
Rue, which is the person that's telling the story in Euphoria.
Oh, I watched them. I watched the show.
Okay, so the producer of Euphoria in real life
Is a guy.
Is Rue.
Oh, I've heard that story. Rue's like the main
Rue is
character.
Zendaya.
The protagonist.
Exactly. So in real life, the producer of the original Euphoria, because
He was telling his story.
American
through the eyes of a young
Euphoria,
girl.
American Euphoria, which is the one where Zendaya is a remake of the original one. The original producer.
Never mind me with my headphones. Continue your story.
Okay. The original producer, I think he's from Israel. He's telling his story.
Hold on. I got to acknowledge what you just said.
This happens every time.
As soon as I fix my headphones. Okay. Say that again. What was he? What was he? The producer of Euphoria?
Okay, where did you? Where?
No, tell me what you were just saying. The producer of Euphoria is telling through the eyes of this
So the
character.
American Euphoria, which is the one we've seen, that's not the original one. That's the American version of the original one, which is from Israel. The producer is telling his story. He was an opioid addict, which is Rue.
The more you know.
Imagination. SpongeBob.
Jesus Christ, Melissa. Oh, I did know that.
You said Euphoria, so it was like, I mean, it's a story told by
I
the eyes
realize
of an
he's telling
addict.
it, but Jesus Christ with that show. All right. Let me continue. How much longer is this thing? I wanted to get to the other thing. All right.
We should get to the fact that Justin Bieber.
Oh, that's gosh, that poor kid. Let's talk about him for a minute. It was weird. I remember when Bieber just came out. It was weird to me. I mean, when did it first come out? Like what, 2000?
2009, 2010. I was 16. I still remember.
He had the hair, right? Like the bowl haircut and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that kid was
He was 13.
freaking weird. Like you could just tell that there was something off. Like not that it was off with him, but like it just felt like that kid was being forced to play a character. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like. Like my daughter used to be into that. 4 or 5. She's 4 or 5 years old at the time.
Okay, yeah.
That music. And so that's all I even knew. And then he had the stupid hair. And then all the kids in her class wanted to have that stupid hair.
But they were obsessed with purple. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Raven wanted me to watch like one of his videos and it was like about a sweater or something. And I just remember thinking that there's something off with that kid, man. Like something's going on.
It's a character, like you said.
Yeah. But it wasn't like he didn't look happy doing what he was doing. You know what I mean? Like talented and all, but
I think his mom was forcing him to be.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to come of those allegations, but something is there. And we don't know the extent of it yet. But yeah, something is there.
Somebody said that maybe his music video, the Yummy one, I think Yummy's like 5 or 6 years old, gave like a clue of that.
Gave like a clue what?
Of there has always been a theory of like Epstein, and now Diddy is involved, that all those people from like that are very wealthy and even royalty, they like to engage in sexual acts with minors. And they have like these codes. What was the name of that conspiracy theory? Pizzagate? I think that was the name.
I have no idea what Pizzagate is.
Google it.
Okay.
Pizzagate, pizza, whatever.
It's a gay pizza?
Sí, marica.
Pizzagate.
I think something along the lines of that. The conspiracy theory. No.
A conspiracy theory that went
ago.
viral during 2016 U.S. presidential election cycle, falsely claiming that New York City police. I got to click on it. I was on the Wikipedia. Claiming that New York City police had discovered a pedophilia ring linked to members of the Democratic Party while
but not only
searching
that.
through Anthony Weiner's emails. Remember that guy? Anthony Weiner. Do you know who that is?
I don't, but that's how they got to Harvey Weinstein and Epstein.
Well, it's been extensively discredited, according to Wikipedia, by a wide range of organizations, including the DC police.
And then Anonymous published a lot of links, and then they took them down.
Because they got discredited or what?
No, he published the links, and then I don't know what the hell they did, but they took them down.
All right. Let me continue with this real quick. Members and associates Internet Prime. Instead, members and associates of Combs Enterprise helped conceal the violence and abuse by, among other things, assisting Combs in monitoring and preventing victims from leaving locations such as hotels or Combs residences. I just heard a story about Will Smith, about how, I don't know how true it is. I heard it off of TikTok by some guy that was telling a story. But it just sounds like something similar, where Will Smith walked in on his wife, Jada Pinkett, having sex with Mark Anthony. And then I'm thinking, like, why? Why that guy? But she was, like, they were in the house and she was having sex with him.
Who was
Will
Mark
Smith,
Anthony?
the singer.
I know! It's my mom's favorite singer of all time, but I was like, it was Mark Anthony?
Yes.
Out of every man.
That's what I said. But that's who she picked. And Will Smith was so humiliated that he beat the ever-loving shit out of Jada and like jacked up her face, something fierce, and like had to set up a makeshift hospital there at the house, didn't let her leave, and made sure that she was better before anything got out to the public. And he was saying that that's why Jada came out and was doing all this other crazy stuff, because she's got dirt on Will. If she ever wanted to, she spilled the beans on that guy. Now, look, I don't know how true that story is. Some comedian was telling that story on some other podcast that I witnessed on TikTok. All I'm saying is that story reminds me of this story where they're setting up makeshift hospitals to conceal the evils that are going on at these parties.
That means it's true.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I mean,
I'm just going to remind you, this is the man that's also stood up in the middle of an Oscars ceremony and slapped somebody. So just putting that out. Imagination.
Thank you for reminding us, because if that was not top of mind, I don't know. So these occasions, including instances in which a victim was required to remain in hiding, sometimes for several days at a time, to recover from injuries Combs had inflicted. So when employees, witnesses to his abuse, or others threaten Combs' authority or reputation, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise engaged in acts of violence, threats of violence, threats of financial and reputational harm, and verbal abuse. These acts of violence included kidnapping and arson. In addition, on multiple occasions, Combs threw both objects and people, as well as hit, dragged, choked, and shoved others. When I hear stories like that, I always wonder, who was like the one brave soul that took a swing at Diddy when all that was going on? There had to have been somebody who was like, yeah, you're not going to drag me like that. No, I'm not taking your stupid drugs. Like popped him in the nose or took a swing. I'd imagine he would have probably had like all of his bodyguards there and like made an example. There's got to be a reason why that little ass dude is getting impunity to do these things to other folks. What do you think about that? You got a
super chat?
Oh, you heard the sound too?
Yeah.
I got to get back into my screen. Where did everything go? Why do I got so many windows open? How do I get rid of some of this shit?
Close them out.
Okay. Let me situate. How did all this happen? Hey, Licia Fiorini, thank you so much for the sticker. I dig your mask, by the way. I'm getting flashbacks. COVID. You know when COVID first hit, I got one of those masks with like the filters in it. Because it was off Amazon. This must be way better. And then it turns out, no, stupid, because it's got holes right there. It's as if you're not wearing a mask at all. It's like, you know what? With this, I couldn't even deal. I couldn't.
I still have face masks in some of my purses.
Can we see Dominic? Who wants to see Dominic? Dominic is shy. Dominic would be like, it was cold, I swear.
Oh, no.
Oh, leave Dominic alone, man. Where was I? Okay. When Combs' authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in or about late 2023, including public allegations of Combs' crimes, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including attempted bribery, to stay silent and not report on what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, Combs and other members and associates of the enterprise, among other things, provided these victims and witnesses with false narrative of events in an effort to conceal crimes. The racketeering conspiracy. So from at least in or about 2008 through on or about the date of the filing of this indictment in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Sean Combs, the defendant, and others known and unknown, being persons employed by the associated with the Combs enterprise described in paragraphs 6 through 12 of this indictment, an enterprise engaged in and the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly combined, conspired, confederated. I've never seen that word before. Confederated. That's taking a blast from the past. And agreed together with each other to violate the racketeering laws of the United States, to wit, Title 18 of the same code we've been talking about this whole time. They're talking about multiple acts of kidnapping, chargeable under California Penal Code 207, 21A, 664, 31, 182. Multiple acts involving arson, chargeable under 451, 21A, 664, 31, 182. It's more and more stuff. They're detailing all of the crimes with which, wait, what is this? Multiple offenses involving the possession with intent to distribute or distribution of narcotics and controlled substances, including cocaine, oxycodone, alprazolam, meth. I can't pronounce that shit, man. Ketamine, other stuff. Those were the substances that they were able to identify. Notice of special sentencing factor from at least in or about 2009 up to and including in or about 2018 in the Southern District of New York. The defendant agreed to and affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruit, entice, harbor, transport. All right. That's count one. Sex trafficking. That's all of that was for count one. The racketeering charge. This is the sex trafficking charge. So from at least in or about 2009, it's a lot of the same stuff. Sex acts, attempted, aided and abetted, willfully committed. It's related to count one. Count three, engage in prostitution, is pretty self-explanatory. Forfeiture allegations. As a result of committing the offense alleged in count one of this indictment, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18 any and all interests the defendant acquired or maintained in violation of Title 18, which is his entire empire. So when he's offering his 50 million mansion, they're like, we're getting that anyway.
Basically.
How is that collateral, dipshit? You got something better? You got something that you obtained while not in the process of
illicit money,
running this illegal enterprise? They're getting all that shit anyway. So as a result of committing the offense alleged in count two of his indictment, and they're, basically what they're saying in so many words is he is federally effed. Dude's never getting out of prison, man. They had him on suicide watch. There's a reason why the guy wanted, tried with all of his might to keep himself out of jail. Ah, shit, I done just closed the whole thing, didn't I? That's all right. I just wanted to pull up let me get out of this real quick. I wanted to, detention memo, that's what I wanted. Here we go. Let me share my screen so you all can read the DA's position on all of this. The real, get rid of that. Get rid of this. Oh, that's the thing you had me look up. All right. I have to do the window thing. Here we go. Let me share this with you. So this is basically the state's attorney memo to the judge about why we can't allow this guy to have bail. This is what they say. So Sean Combs, taken into custody this morning after a grand jury sitting in this district returned a 3-count indictment charging him with crimes related to his decades-long pattern of physical and sexual violence against multiple victims and his use of force, threats, and coercion to enact his will, protect his reputation, and fulfill his sexual desires. The government respectfully submits this letter in anticipation of the defendant's appearance before this court later today and in support of the government's request for the defendant's detention pending trial. As set forth below, there is no condition or combination of conditions that will reasonably ensure the appearance of the defendant as required and the safety of others and the community, not to mention the integrity of the proceedings. As reflected by the gravity of the charges of the indictment, the defendant is dangerous, poses an ongoing threat to the safety of the community. If released, he remains a serious risk of flight, despite the conditions offered by his counsel. Most glaringly, the defendant also poses a significant risk of obstructing justice. Indeed, and as set forth below, during the course of the charged conduct, the defendant has attempted to bribe security staff and threatened and interfered with witnesses to his criminal conduct. He has already tried to obstruct the government's investigation of this case, repeatedly contacting victims and witnesses and feeding them with false narratives of events. This guy is so effed. For them to even know that, they knew that he was going to do that. They knew that. And they, I promise you, got a hold of those witnesses before it even happened and said, look, we know that he's going to try. If you take that money, you're a fool. We'll throw you in jail forever. Cooperate and we'll make sure that your name stays out of it. And remember, everybody in Bad Boy Entertainment is liable criminally for this case.
Yep.
You know, this reminds me, there's this episode of The Twilight Zone, way before your time. It's before my time. I think the episode came out in the 50s.
Twilight Zone.
There was this guy, and he was given everything his heart desired. He was in Vegas, and it was like, every time you win, every time you gamble, you're going to win. Any woman that you talk to, she's going to succumb to your advances. Anytime you compete in anything, you're going to be the winner. Anything you possibly want. The catch was he got so bored with it. He's like, hey, it'd be nice if I could lose every now and then. It'd be nice to know that I wasn't winning every single time. It'd be nice to know that there was some suspense in all of this. He got bored with the unlimited riches, with the unlimited access to all of life's fruits, that he went crazy. So Diddy, here's this guy. He's been probably a multimillionaire since the 90s easily. He's been a billionaire probably since
The early 2000s, maybe.
I don't know when, but he's had more money than he could ever spend. He's had access to everything he could ever possibly want.
He has more properties than he could ever use them.
There are some security guards that were saying that, you know what's funny? Like sometimes when you have access to so many women, you get bored with it. You want to start trying new stuff, implying that he wanted to start trying men. Hashtag cue the Wayans brothers, which personally I could never fathom that level of boredom with women. But he literally said he got so bored of being with women that it's like, you know what? I want to try something new. I think I'm going to try men. And then he would, because he was so bored with it. There was no novelty to it.
I would like to say they're wrong. They're not.
There is something enticing about novelty that our human nature will desire it.
That's why there's so much people that cannot compromise to a job, to a relationship, to like a lease agreement, a car, something, because like you said, there's a lot of novelty.
Attraction and novelty has killed many empires. The Roman Empire, Diddy's empire, the R. Kelly empire. You know, it's not enough to have a girlfriend. Now you got to have a slave. It's not enough to have a slave. Now you got to up the ante. You got to constantly up the ante. How much further can we go? We've done it all. This guy was a victim of his own success. And at some point, if you don't understand how to live life and to find novelty with all of your riches, you're doomed.
I think that's why Elvis went crazy.
No, Elvis went crazy because he was locked up and enslaved by his music producer.
Yes, I know. I understand what you're saying. I do. I get it.
You don't understand shit. What was I saying then?
What I mean, he got bored with so much things. He had everything on his feet. He was gorgeous, so he could have any woman he wanted. He was successful, rich, everything. He got bored with it. And then, of course, he got slaved by his producer as well, because he was really young when he started.
That was really the majority of it. Like, if he was allowed to leave Vegas and tour internationally, he would have been fine. He just wanted to get out of Vegas. He was stuck in that hotel room for years. Couldn't get out of his contract. He owed his manager all kinds of money. It was the kind of contract that you could make in the 60s and 70s. You could never make that today.
Well, he tried. No, he succeededly boycotted his marriage.
He did what in his marriage?
the producer.
What?
Boycotted his marriage as well. He took everything. He took everything from him.
Yeah. Well, his depression was largely because of that.
It was so bad.
But I don't think
gorgeous, gorgeous men. I swear to God, he was like, for me, I remember when I saw him when I was a little girl, I was like, this is the most perfect man in the world. And now I'm growing and I still see it that way. Like, his looks were
you would say
perfect.
that about him and not like Charleston. Who was the guy that played that Roman emperor in like the Gladiator? He was like the Gladiator in the 40s, 50s. Who's that guy? He was like gosh, I can't think that far back now.
Dominic? Who's he talking about? Refresh my memory?
Oh, what was that movie, man? I gotta Google this now. Gladiator movie.
40s.
Driving horses in 1950. Chariots. Ben-Hur. Who's the Ben-Hur leading actor?
It just sounded like me. Purple skirts that whoever was wearing in...
Ben-Hur main actor. Who was the guy? Who was the Ben-Hur? Stephen Boyd? Who? Nah, man. I need the picture. I need the visual.
Who is he?
Charlton Heston.
¿Quién es esa persona?
Ben-Hur chariot race.
Okay, he looks like really bad in this picture, but I'm going to look for a young one.
Look for a young one. It was like barrel-chested dude, man, like every young boy's idea of what a man's supposed to look like. Back then, anyway.
This man?
No, not him. It was like a
Charlton Heston.
That's him, but I'm thinking of another guy who's like a
Legendary
bodybuilder, fitness freak. In her bodybuilder. Ah, shit! I'm just going down a rabbit hole. I'm not.
Yes, you are. Nobody can compete. In my eyes, nobody can compete with Elvis. I don't. That's why I feel so bad. Like such a gorgeous man, and he went down a rabbit hole, and he got effed up. Not even his own daughter got that from him.
What, Lisa?
The looks. Mm-hmm.
How do you even know?
What do you mean? How do I even know?
How do you know how men perceive his daughter?
No. Not about that. I mean, not even his daughter was like as good looking as he was. Like I would believe that because Priscilla's not. She was not bad looking.
All right. Could we move on?
Okay.
Could we continue with what we were doing? Anyway, I got on that whole rant because of the Twilight Zone.
Because he got bored.
No,
because he had
it's a
so
lesson.
much success.
But it doesn't just manifest for people who got money. It manifests itself in relationships. It manifests itself in all the walks of life that you had mentioned, in your employment, and your
relationships,
and anything that you have to be committed to for a long period of time. Novelty is like the golden apple in the Garden of Eden.
But I do have to say that with the guards from the, what'd you say? It was like the people from the reception, from the lobby, from his building that said that he got so bored with women that he wanted to experiment with men.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to tell you a story. That's
Okay.
true. That is true.
Do you have an experience with women that you like to share?
No, not me. But
She gets so bored with men that F it.
No.
All right. Well, let's continue with your story.
Okay. When I was, I think, 18 or 19,
Yeah.
my boyfriend at the time, he introduced me to one of his friends. Every single weekend and every single day from the weekend, he was with a different woman. Every single time. Okay, years progressed. He moved away, blah, 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 blah. Come to find out later on that now he was not interested in women, but in men. I was like, very interesting.
I'll tell you what. It is a sickness in men. It's something that men have to grow out of. They have to grow out of, because look, you're raised as predators. You're raised as having to go after women.
Yes.
Women are used to getting approached.
Yes.
Men have to learn how to approach.
Yes.
But there's this thing that happens. It's like the thrill of the kill that you have to grow out of. It's like when you go in for prey, you get rejected and start, and sooner or later, you start to learn how to have success. And when you start having success, there's the danger. The danger is that you become so infatuated with the success that you don't realize it, but novelty has poisoned your brain and you're no longer capable of having a monogamous relationship. And so it's something that young men must learn. Restraint. And so it's such a, I feel like it's such an advertisement. If you don't learn restraint from novelty, then you will turn gay, is what I'm taking from your story. Is that fair to say? Is that what you're saying? All right.
Or lesbian.
Dominic, you heard that? All right. So just calm your ass down. I got to get some water. Hey, Melissa, tell everybody a story.
I'm sorry, I can't. I don't know who's watching.
Everybody's.
No, I can't tell any more personal stories. Somebody's going to pick them up and they're going to be really, really mad at me. I've said so many. Somebody once picked up once and they were like, why were you talking about? I was like, no, I wasn't. You misheard.
Oh. All right, I'm back. So they're going along with the background. They mention September 17th, the 2024 indictment returned by a federal grand jury sitting in the Southern District of New York was unsealed, charging stuff. They break this into paragraphs. Combs' use of violence, threats and coercion, sex trafficking and abuse. They go into all the stuff that we had talked about. Is this new? Let's see. Defendants ensured the victims would participate in freak-offs through coercion and violence. For instance, defendant provided controlled substances, ketamine, ecstasy, GHB, the date rape drug, female victims so that they could and would continue to engage in these freak-offs.
No, I'm intrigued.
About what?
¿Quién fue el sapo?
Huh?
Who's the snitch?
Like a rat?
I'm really intrigued.
Like,
Who snitched on him?
There's like 13 different civil complaints. What do you mean who snitched? Everybody snitched. Everybody snitched.
There has to be an initial snitch to deton the other snitches.
The 1991? Just all you got to do is put them on a timeline. There's not one snitch. Everybody's starting to come out.
There's always the original snitch.
I don't know who the original snitch was, but
that's what I'm curious.
For all of the thousands of people that have rolled through these freak-offs.
But he's not going to come out. Or he or she is not. They are not going to come out until like 10 years from now.
What are you talking about?
The original snitch? The person who originally snitched.
Oh, they're going to come out during this trial. You don't think that they will?
I don't think so.
Well, I don't know if we'll ever know who the original snitch was.
We will. I do believe we will, but in like 10 years. Something like that.
Why that long?
Because they may potentially be in danger. They don't want to risk their lives.
Meh.
As soon as Diddy finds out who snitched on him originally.
Yeah, but this isn't Breaking Bad. You can't kill all the witnesses in 2 minutes as they're sitting in a maximum security prison.
I'm not saying that, but you.
So
I mean, I get what you're saying.
The act of trying to intimidate witnesses is not doing Diddy any good at this point. They're all over that. There is no scenario where he's going to effectively intimidate any singular witness. I just doubt it. Because there's like dozens of them. There's hundreds of witnesses that they have ready to testify. What, you're going to kill them all? You're going to threaten them all? He's already tried and failed, and now he's in jail. So while he was out, he had opportunity to do that and do what he was going to do. Didn't work out. Now he's in jail and he's not getting out. Who is he intimidating? They're taking all of his assets. Every dollar he earned from Bad Boy Entertainment, if they could find that dollar was earned during the criminal enterprise timeline, they're taking it. He is broke. He's going to be asking for to put money on his kiosk so he could afford ramen noodles. He's done. Finished.
Anyway, he's not going to get
his assets are seized. They are frozen.
Does he have kids? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, he's got kids. He's got kids.
Oh, no, wait. Yeah, he was married. That's true.
Oh, all right. Additionally, during both freak-offs and separate from freak-offs, the defendant subjected female victims to physical, emotional, verbal abuse, in parts to cause them to engage in freak-offs. The defendant hit, kicked through objects. We read all this stuff in the criminal indictment. One incident of physical abuse occurred when a female victim was attempting to leave the motel following a March 16 freak-off. This abuse was captured on surveillance. That's Cassie. That's part of another civil lawsuit. that I have, but I'm not going to read it because we're running out of time.
And her name was Cassie.
Yeah. That was her name. What?
Okay.
What does that mean?
Nothing.
What was that face for?
Nothing.
What did you make the big deal about that for?
I didn't. I just said her name was Cassie.
Is there something like I don't get it. Like, why did you have to reaffirm?
I never said anything.
Okay. Defendant also coerced victims into participating in free golf by controlling their careers, finances. Same stuff, the same stuff. Firearms, they seized a number of firearms, and they have pictures of it here in this indictment. Loaded. Serial numbers, some of which were stored in gun safes, were recovered from the defendant's residences. Although these particular guns, both the legal and illegal firearms, were seized, their presence in the defendant's homes demonstrates that the defendant has access to and surrounds himself with both guns and ammunition. Yeah, that's bad. Going back to what I was saying. Throughout the time period charged in the indictment, when the defendant faced the possibility that his violent and criminal conduct could become public, the defendant and other members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims not to report what they saw or heard to law enforcement or to otherwise conceal the criminal conduct. For example, and as noted above, in March 2016, the defendant was captured on video surveillance striking, kicking, dragging a woman in the public area of a hotel in an apparent attempt to prevent her from leaving a freak-off. When a member of hotel security staff intervened, the defendant attempted to offer the hotel security officer a stack of cash to ensure silence. After the security guard refused the defendant's bribe, and after coordination between the defendant and his employees, the defendant's staff contacted other members of hotel security at the same time. Staff members were in close communication with the victim of the assault as well. Within days of the incident, the surveillance video disappeared from the hotel server. How about that? Similarly, throughout the time period charged in the indictment, members and associates of the enterprise have reached out to multiple victims on behalf of the defendant to convince them not to report the defendant's abuse, most recently in late 2023, immediately following public allegations of certain of the defendant's crimes, including his physical and sexual abuse. And it goes on and on. The government's investigation is ongoing, and now they're citing law. They're making arguments about obstruction of justice, Bail Reform Act, and basically arguing to the judge that he's a dangerous person, a danger to the society. He's a flight risk. There's no amount of supervision that they can conduct that's going to guarantee the public safety. They're calling them dangerous. They are continuing with obstruction. They basically have this guy pinned down, locked down. So when he offered their $50 million residence, I got to imagine that one of the factors that the judges considered was if that was the subject of purchase through the criminal enterprise, Bad Boy Entertainment, which is, as far as I'm aware, his main source of income, then it would have been worthless anyway, because they're going to be seizing that if he's convicted on these charges. And so, but aside from that, it was collateral. You still you have to consider it as an asset aside from whether or not it's been seized. It's still a valuable asset. So even in light of all of that, they see all of these things. Imagine if they would have given him bail. So you have all of these charges. And I know we're talking about basically three criminal charges, but all of these different crimes spanning, 33 years? 34 years? Imagine had they given him bail, what do you think the public perception would have been? Not very good.
That you can buy your way out of justice.
And I promise you that was part of the judge's decision to deny him bail. So here we are. Those are the charges against Diddy right now. I'm not going to get into some of the civil suits because we're not going to hear about them probably until after they do the criminal trial. I don't think that this is going to be a plea bargain deal. I think this is going to go to trial. There's nothing in that. I mean, what are they going to offer him? I have no idea. I'd be shocked if he took a plea deal regarding these charges in this case. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Those are the charges. it's a lot. For me to get through all of the breadth of the crimes that are being alleged against him, spanning 34 years, I could be here for months. All I'm going to say is that he's in trouble. He's like in real trouble. Like those charges are about as serious as it gets without having murdered somebody. And from what I'm hearing, there's like 9 separate alleged murders that have been unofficially alleged as the result of Diddy's actions. All that to say is, look, there's 3 counts right now, but you should expect in the coming weeks and months those charges to grow exponentially, approaching a possible trial in this case. That's all I got to say about Diddy for now. He's in trouble, man. I suspect that the price of baby oil has gone up because of this temporary bump in publicity.
And lubricant. And
So don't freak out
Baby
if you
powder.
see the price raise a couple dollars here and there. But folks, we are going to be doing a special edition of a Family Law After Dark immediately following this show. If you haven't already done so, I'm going to be joined by Bruce. I'm going to be joined by Brad, the IT guy, Bruce from Oregon. The Schnitzel Ninja is going to come in and join us. Of course, Melissa's going to be here for her last her last podcast as an employee of mine. And we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a crazy show. I'm going to refill my beverage. I'm going to get properly lubricated, not with baby oil, but with proper whiskey. And so we will see you guys over there. Hey, Dominic, have you linked to it in the comments? Make sure you drop a link in the comments so that people can get over there easily. If you don't see the link or for whatever reason that becomes a thing, then just go to our channel and it'll be the next live coming up. Just a link over there, and I will see you guys all over there. Other than that, I love you all.
Bye.
And we will see you in a few minutes. Bye-bye.